Take me to work. Alright, let's go. Alright, so today, interesting situation. So I got some tickets given to me for a baseball game tomorrow in Chicago for the Cubs. And I guess I had already told people that we could go to the boat races tonight. You know, both things that are very taxing on your body, and it's... So yesterday, we took the kids to the beach. You know, it's kind of like that holiday weekend, 4th of July week, kind of slow and stuff, so we took the day off, took the kids to the beach, and there's a curb, and I stepped up on the curb and tweaked my back. And it's like, what? And then, you know, we go out on the boat, and it's so wavy out there that the thing just rocks all over, and I end up screwing my knee up every time we go out there. At least one knee, sometimes two knees. So it's like this thing, man, you just get older and your body just starts to give out on you, and you feel like, you know, what can you do about it? I mean, I work out, I try to eat right, I'm doing these peptides, try to lose some weight, but it's like joints and tendons and all this stuff, it weighs on you. And you know, then you've got a son who's 26 years old, and yeah, he's you know, invincible, and he can do, you know, things every day of the week, but it's just like, for me, it's just too much. So these tickets came later. Actually, I just found out about them like 2 days ago. And I told them that we do these boat races like a month ago, maybe. And I canceled once before, and now I'm just like, oh man, I know what's gonna happen. I know exactly what's gonna happen. We're gonna go on the boat. I'm gonna mess my knee up. Then I'm gonna have to walk around tomorrow all over the freaking place. And it's gonna be a nightmare. So we're just gonna have to see how it goes. I don't know. I think if we go early enough when we drive to the Cubs game, we might be able to park closer, so I won't have to walk 10 miles. Because we were thinking about taking the train, but the train it's a whole ordeal. It's an hour and a half on the train, and then you gotta catch I don't know, I'm just complaining. But it just reminded me that, you know, you get older. And I guess that's kind of what I talk about here, is like my journey through life. And now I'm 55 years old. You know, I've got a 7-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 26-year-old. So it's kind of like a little break in there and then start it over. You know, I used to think like these younger kids will keep me younger because I've got to stay in shape and keep up with them, but I don't know, it might be wearing me out more than anything. And then trying to keep up with the 26-year-old. You know, the thing is, I got involved in this volleyball league on Tuesday nights, and honestly, we suck. We're terrible. But, you know, it was the first 2 games that we played 3 games, and the first 2 games we lost. And I'm like, the 3rd game, I like willed it. I was like, I'm doing anything I can to win this game. Diving around, I'm flopping around. I'm just like, next day, I'm just like, I get out of bed and I feel fine, and I take 2 steps and then my ankle starts hurting. I'm like, oh man. So I've learned, and this is a lesson for you. If you pull a muscle or you strain something, don't keep testing it and seeing, you know, what hurts, because it just aggravates it more. Put yourself in like a total muscle relaxation mode. Don't put any pressure on it, and just kind of let it calm, you know. And usually, like muscle pulls, I've noticed, those will kind of go away as long as you don't aggravate it more. It's just the initial thing, like the tendons and stuff. I don't know what the ankle thing was. It was like my foot and ankle, and that lasted a little while. I went downstairs, I worked out, I didn't push myself too much, I didn't put a lot of pressure on it, and then it felt a lot better. And then when we went to the beach and I stepped up on that curb, my back just kinked, and I'm like, oh man. So I went into like relaxation mode. I ended up just laying on the sand, kind of sunburn, but today it feels better. But what is it? I don't know. It was just a lower back creak that, and I think because I went into my relaxation mode and kind of calmed it down, it didn't really aggravate it more. So, but going on this boat, and then these boat races are at this Blarney's Island, which is kind of a famous bar on the chain of lakes. And you go out there and it's hot, and it's supposed to be 93 degrees. It was supposed to rain today. I just can't get out of it. So it's tough. What a drag it is getting old. So you want to keep yourself in good shape. You want to keep, weight off, so it's not putting extra pressure on your joints. I mean, I worked construction when I was younger. From the time I was 22 till the time I was almost 30. And those 7 or 8 years did more damage to my body than I can even believe now. So it's like you see these professional athletes, football players especially, and they're just taking so much damage. I mean, I can't even imagine falling on the ground, let alone having someone tackle you and land on top of you and crush you on the ground. God bless them, they do it. I remember watching football when I was a kid with my dad, and he'd be yelling and screaming at these guys like, they're, basically calling them weak and everything else. And I was right with them then, but now that I'm older, maybe he was younger, he's probably in his 30s at the time, or 40s, probably 40s at the time. Now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't know how those guys did it. And that was a different era. They didn't have the rules and stuff and the equipment they have now to protect these guys. They were getting, but the guys are bigger now and they're stronger, faster. But back then, you're just like, these guys were crushing each other. I remember watching one Bears game. Bears, I think it was Packers maybe, which is a big rivalry, but they were just, every play, somebody was getting knocked out of the game. The quarterback at the time was like Jim McMahon, and he like lacerated his liver and a bunch of other injuries. I mean, they used to kill each other. But I just can't imagine that now. I watch my son play football. He's a tough kid. He'll get up, and then you can tell it hurt him a little bit, and he'll be a little teary-eyed, shake it off. When he gets hurt, he gets more, gets angry, and he fights harder. I mean, the thing is, it's one thing if you could get injured, I guess, but stepping on a curb, getting out of bed and taking 2 steps, driving a boat, some waves. I mean, these are things that you think your body wouldn't have so much stress. And I mean, my shoulder has been bad since when I used to do construction. Right at the end, it started really bothering me because I used to carry a ladder over my head, and the ladder would be upright and I'd be holding it up. And you do that all day for 8-10 hours. And my thing is I just wanted to get this stuff done, get as much done as fast as I could so I could get paid. And it just put so much stress on my body. And then towards the end, my shoulder was like cashed. And then when my dad sold his company and I went and worked for the other company in sales, it was very interesting because my shoulder was so bad that I couldn't even sleep. It just ached, and the pain felt like bone on bone. And the last year specifically was just really horrible working for that company that bought my dad's company, and the people were horrible. And I was in a situation where the gist of the job was, it was the late 90s. No, actually it was early 2000s. Construction was still going on in our area. Houses were being built all over. There were small builders building houses. There were tract builders. There were medium-sized builders. And they were building everything. The gist of the job was that I would drive around, and if I saw something getting built, I'd stop and see if they wanted a quote for insulation or gutters, or they did these prefab fireplaces. And I knew nothing about insulation. I didn't even know how to quote it. I could do the gutters because that's what I knew. And the fireplaces, they didn't even let me touch. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to worry about those. So, A, I had nothing to stand on. B, I'm not that type of person who's like going to stop and just start a conversation with somebody. And half the time there weren't people at these job sites anyways. And so I was like in this limbo where I'm like, I don't know what to do. At the time, I had self-diagnosed myself for social anxiety, which absolutely was true. And I just, I've always been kind of, I hate to use the word, I don't use the word around my kids, shy, because that's all I heard when I was a kid growing up. He's so shy, is he shy? And to the point where I don't even say that word around my kids. I'm like, you just go talk to them or do whatever. You see the little shyness in them, but they're, for the most part, pretty outgoing kids. Total opposite of me. And that whole thing affected me, and I was born with it from a little baby, So whatever it was, it's ingrained in me, and it's never gone away. And I was never really forced to get in that situation where I had to break out of it, especially when I was younger. That's one thing that we did with our kids, is we sent them to daycare when they were very, very young because, we had to work. And so for the first year or two, I think the kids would come to work with us, but as soon as they started walking around and stuff and we had to keep track of them, they went to Miss Dawn's house. It was a great lady that used to watch kids out of her house. But it got them in a new environment. They were dealing with a lot of kids, and it was young, so they didn't know any different, and they socialized. Where when I was a kid, my mom tried to drop me off at a daycare type place, And I think I went for 2 days, and it was like the first day I was playing with the toy, and some other kid came over and grabbed the toy, and I just freaked out, and I didn't want to go back. And my mom would drop me off, and I remember this, it's from her story. It was like a fence, and you'd get dropped off, and then, you know, I would go to the fence, and I just cried and cried and cried. And my mom broke down and grabbed me and said she couldn't do it. Which, God bless her, you know? But the truth is, it probably hurt me more than helped me. If she would have forced me to deal with it. You know, and then even growing up, never really having to be in the situation. Even like, I had one job for 2 months. I worked at a Zare, which was like a retailer, like a, I don't know, kind of like a really low end, like JCPenney type store. Had a lot of junk, and that was a funny situation because they would have sales, but they never had the stuff that was on sale. So people would come in and they'd be upset, and I never dealt with that well. And then everybody that worked there was just, it would have made a great sitcom because there were so many characters. I mean, the store manager, his name was Mr. Kermis. He was like a little bald guy with a mustache. And then they had a customer service lady who was actually having an affair with the security guy. Like literally, like they would lock themselves in the security office for hours at a time. Who knows what they were doing in there. And then there's all the characters, all the high school kids that worked there. It was an interesting job, but it only lasted like 2 months. And I hated it because I had to deal with people that I didn't know, and it was, you know, customer service and all that stuff. So I didn't last there very long. And then, you know, like I was saying the other day, I got involved in that multi-level marketing financial company. And the gist of that was constantly when you're out to talk to different people about their finances or about their financial situation and try to get them involved in the business and just recruiting. And that's just not me. Honestly, this AI stuff is almost perfect for me. If I can, I'm trying to work on a business where basically it's a software or something faceless where I actually don't have to do anything and the AI can do it all. That's the ultimate thing for me. Being a landlord is perfect for me because, you know, I have a property manager. He deals with 95%. He deals with 100% of the tenants, but 95% of the problems because there's some things he needs me to get involved in, but it's just, that's perfect. Passive income. So, anyways, I don't know how I got on this. Falling apart. 55 years old. I can't imagine what I'll be like in 10 years. Hopefully they'll have peptides that will cure, you know, these type of ailments and this aging. I mean, there's a couple, actually, I'm going to start trying. It's called the Wolverine stack, I guess, where it's supposed to heal. But we'll see. I'll let you know on that. But other than that, I'll probably end up breaking down and going to this boat races. And then hopefully, pray that I won't hurt myself or injure myself or get some ache that's just gonna make it miserable to go to this Cubs game tomorrow because, you know, like I said, there's gonna be a ton of walking. So that's all for today. The lesson is you need to take care of yourself, especially when you're younger. You're not invincible. And as you get older, and I get older and older, it's going to be about quality of life and being able to do things. And it's like I said, it's a drag getting old. So I'll talk to you tomorrow.